I'm Ann Rancourt from the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, and I'm here at the National Institutes of Health in Bethesda, Maryland. I'm joined today by Dr. Carl Diefenbach, Director of the Division of AIDS at NIAID, my colleague. Carl, great to be with you.
Good morning, everybody. It's good to be here.
So, Carl, you recently announced the start of a new process. You are refining the NIH HIV research enterprise. Tell us a little bit about this. What's a research enterprise?
So that's a fancy set of words for our clinical trials program. And our clinical trials program is set up to evaluate interventions, therapies, and preventive methodologies in a range of people, both domestically and internationally. So it consists of sites where the research is actually performed, where people are brought in and consented and receive their study medication. It consists of laboratories, data centers, as well as a leadership group that deals with all the myriad of regulations and details that we need to focus on in order to get the research done safely and ethically.
And this research enterprise, what are some successes that it's had in the past that folks might know about?
So the research enterprise has been in existence since early in the AIDS epidemic in the 1980s. And the first major success we had is in many ways sort of portended to what we've been about ever since. It's about innovation. Can we make fundamental discoveries using clinical research to improve human health? And the first one was a trial called 076, which demonstrated a single drug could really have a profound impact on mother-to-child transmission. So essentially, it reduced in the United States mother-to-child transmission from about 1 in 4 births resulting in HIV transmission to 1 in 20. It's fairly significant. But that research question of can drugs prevent HIV infection has been a theme throughout the networks to where we are today. We're evaluating long-acting therapies for the same sort of use as they prevent infections. We've developed a range of antiretrovirals that are essentially making life expectancy for HIV-positive people who are adherent to therapy practically normal life expectancy. And we've demonstrated that HIV, one of our themes that we come back to time and time again, is that if you stay on your medication and you are durably virally suppressed, you are most likely not transmissible, you will not transmit, and you are non-infectious. So back to this idea that there's very negligible risk associated with in the case of transmitting between adults. So we've had a profound impact on the course of the epidemic.
That's impressive. And so why now? Why are we taking this on right now?
So in order to be good stewards of the federal resources that are afforded us by Congress, every 7 years we go through this process of refreshing, renewing, and continuing to innovate the scientific program that we're responsible for. So we're in a process now, and we're starting early, because this process doesn't really complete, that we're initiating now, till 2020. So what we're trying to create, first and foremost, is a research agenda that will carry us through to the year 2027. And if you think about that, where we will be in 2027, we really have the opportunity to really think big and think bold and make sure then our form follows our function.
So let's talk about 2027, 10 years from now. What do you think HIV research could give us at that time?
So if you think of the way research has gone, each year it accelerates and gives us more and more innovation. So I think by 2027, we'll have prevention and treatment options for people that would be dosed either quarterly, that means 4 times a year, to maybe as infrequently as once a year. By all rights, we ought to have a HIV vaccine that is at least 50% active, and we will have, in my dreams, and I actually think we can achieve this, we will have a functional cure, where we can essentially, in a subset of the HIV-positive patients in the world, we will be able to induce durable remission of HIV in the absence of ongoing therapy. Those are the kinds of aspirational goals we'd like to set for 2027, essentially to really give us the tools to really turn the corner on the epidemic and push it as close to zero as we can possibly get.
And so what are some of the underlying principles that are guiding you as you're pushing towards these exciting goals?
The fundamental goals, well, first of all, it's science. Science first. This is about now creating the research agenda as we move forward. And second is ultimately patient safety and understanding the rights of the patients and the study participants that we seek to engage. So in that sense, community is an essential part of what we do. And if I could just digress for just a moment, the reason we are taping today, the reason we're doing this today is we are specifically reaching out to community to get their input, because research is always better with community input. And then the last is also stewardship. So science, safety, and stewardship. And you, the community, are an essential part of what we do.
And as you're going through this process, are there any new innovative concepts that you'll be applying or thinking about?
Well, there are, if you think about, coming back to the stewardship issue, if we go out and create infrastructure where we're doing outstanding clinical research, why should that infrastructure be confined only to studying HIV/AIDS? Can we work at the NIH level to make sure that that infrastructure on a fee-for-service process is available to other diseases? So that, I think, will be an important innovation as we go forward. I would call that interoperability. At the same time, the world has changed in terms of how people communicate with just the more electronic and more connected we all are. Can we make our data systems more integrated, more interoperable, and more transparent? So things like that.
Great. And so what are some of the principles that you're thinking about and taking into account? You mentioned a few just now: science, stewardship, safety. Tell us a little bit more about that.
So the science we're seeking, so coming back to the fact that what we are about at NIH is innovation and science innovation. Where can we make discoveries that will then lead to interventions that will essentially change public health policy, improve the lives of people, and have a public health impact? So things like, can we make a long-acting antiretroviral? Can we get a safe and effective durable vaccine? Can we use the amazing new tools that we've developed we have this whole series of broad neutralizing antibodies, which is a very complex process of making these, but they're very simple to understand. Basically, you have the virus, and these molecules we can make bind to the virus and prevent it from going anywhere, basically inactivate immediately. And these antibodies are set up in such a way that they will work against virtually all the strains of HIV. So can we either use these as chemicals by themselves, or can we teach the body to make those same proteins on a reproducible basis and create long-lasting immunity? Those are just a few examples.
Great. And so you mentioned that there's a role for the community to play. So this is something that goes beyond just the NIH community here. It's broader than that?
So there's a principle of the involvement of the people who the research is being offered to, having a say in the research that is done. And that begins at a stage right now of what is the community interested in seeing the research questions that should be tackled. So in that sense, we need input and we need appropriate feedback in terms of the directions that we have gone and are planning to go. At the same time, then at a more granular level is then participation at their local sites, within the specific areas of interest to them, whether it's vaccines, non-vaccine prevention, or therapeutics.
And so for more information on this effort and to provide the type of feedback that Carl just mentioned, please visit the website shown here and linked in the caption, where you'll also have additional updates from Carl as we go through this effort, frequently asked questions, and other information. Thanks for watching, and Carl, thanks for joining me.